Chris Harrison's wife Lauren Zima threatens divorce. Former Bachelor host Chris Harrison and Lauren Zima have been one of the cutest couples for years. After his departure from the franchise, he and Lauren moved to Texas. He finally proposed and they finally got married last year. Now, a new post shared by Chris has fans talking. Is their marriage safe? Keep reading to find out more and see the video. Chris Harrison's wife Lauren Zima threatens him with divorce. Longtime host of The Bachelor found his happily ever after with wife Lauren Zima when she was a news anchor and doing weekly segments on the franchise. Now, is their marriage in trouble? Chris Harrison went to Instagram to ask Lauren a very important question. They are in the car and Chris asks Lauren if she is excited about NFL football kicking off on Thursday night. The camera scrolled back to her, and she had a disgusted look on her face. The caption said, "Divorce. #football, #info, #sports." The comments that followed were perfect. The first one was from Chris, letting her know that they need to work through this together. She replied, "Work through what?" Fans chimed in on the post and pointed out that perhaps Chris worded the question wrong. He could have said, "I think he means, are you excited to see Taylor Swift supporting Travis Kelce?" For the first time, Chris Harrison has asked a poorly worded question. Lauren replied to the fan noting that they made an excellent point. Another fan voiced that they were happy they married a nerd who has zero interest in sports. Lauren told them that was an excellent move. Of course, everyone knows Lauren was just kidding, but she seems to have a similar reaction every year when football season starts back up. Other fan comments? Other fans continued to chime in on the hilarious post. Another fan pointed out that he again asked the wrong question. He should have been asking what snacks to make for the evening and if she was excited to see Taylor Swift back on television. Someone else said, "I'm with you, Lauren. Football is just not my thing. Wanna go to Home Goods?" Lauren said she was getting her keys. The comments were endless and all hilarious. Chris Harrison sat on the edge of his seat, staring blankly at the TV, his once confident demeanor now shattered. The flashing lights of the media frenzy swirled around him like vultures circling a dying beast. His fall from grace as the host of The Bachelor was swift, leaving a gaping hole in his life. But it wasn't the backlash that ate at him, it was something more personal, more intimate. The slow unraveling of his marriage to Lauren Zima. Lauren, a bright and driven entertainment reporter, had always seemed to understand the whirlwind life of television fame. Their love had been a glittering escape, a beacon in the chaos of Hollywood. They had met on the job, him, the seasoned host with the silver-tongued charm, her, the rising star of the red carpet. It was a match made for tabloids, and for a while it worked. The cameras loved them, and they loved each other, or at least they thought they did. But behind closed doors, the cracks were forming, deepening with each passing day. Lauren stood in the doorway of their Malibu home, staring at Chris with a mixture of sadness and frustration. The waves crashed against the shore outside, a rhythmic sound that had once been calming, but now seemed ominous. "Chris," her voice broke the silence, a tremble beneath the surface, "we need to talk." He turned slowly, his eyes tired, weighed down by months of public scrutiny and private doubt. "What is there to talk about?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. Lauren stepped forward, her hands trembling as she twisted her wedding ring around her finger. "This isn't working. We aren't working." Chris's heart sank. He had known this conversation was coming, yet hearing it out loud felt like a punch to the gut. "Lauren, I know I've made mistakes," he began, his voice low, "but we can fix this. We always do." Lauren shook her head, her long hair catching the golden light from the setting sun. "This time feels different," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "You're not the man I married anymore." The silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken words. Chris knew what she meant. He had changed, or maybe he had revealed a side of himself that Lauren hadn't seen before. The scandal, the way he had handled it, or mishandled it, had exposed more than just his professional flaws. It had peeled back layers of their relationship, revealing the fragile foundation beneath the surface. "I don't even know who I am anymore," Chris admitted, his voice rough. "I've been Chris Harrison, the host, for so long that I don't know how to be anyone else." Lauren crossed her arms, her eyes softening for a moment. "I get that, Chris, I really do. but you've pulled away from me, and I can't keep pretending that everything's fine. We're not fine. He stood up, pacing the length of the living room, his mind racing. How had they gotten here? It wasn't just about the scandal. It was about years of unspoken resentments, long nights apart, and the ever-present pressure to maintain the perfect image. For so long they had both been living in the spotlight, playing their parts, but now the facade was crumbling. "Lauren," Chris said, turning to face her, "I don't want to lose you." Tears welled in her eyes and she quickly wiped them away. "I don't want to lose you either, Chris, but I don't know if we can fix this. It feels broken." The word hung in the air, a finality that made Chris's chest tighten. He had faced public humiliation, criticism, and the loss of a career he had built for decades, but none of it compared to the thought of losing Lauren. "What do you want me to do?" Chris asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Lauren looked down at the floor, her brows furrowed in thought. "I don't know," she admitted. "But I can't keep doing this. I can't keep pretending that we're okay when we're not. I need time, Chris. Time to figure out what I want, who I am without all of this." Chris nodded, his throat dry. He knew that this was more than just a rough patch. This was a tipping point, a crossroads in their relationship, and he wasn't sure if they could come back from it. "Are you?" He hesitated, the words catching in his throat. "Are you saying you want a divorce?" The word hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Lauren looked up at him, her eyes full of pain. "I don't know," she said again, her voice barely a whisper, "but I can't stay like this." Chris felt the ground shift beneath him. This was real. This was happening. He had always thought that no matter what, they would figure things out. But now, standing here in their quiet house with the sun setting on the horizon, he realized that love alone might not be enough. "I love you," Chris said, his voice thick with emotion. "I don't want to lose you." Lauren's lip trembled as she took a shaky breath. "I love you too, Chris, but sometimes love isn't enough." The truth of her words hit him like a tidal wave. They had both been trying to hold onto something that was slipping through their fingers, and maybe it was time to let go. "I need some space," Lauren said, her voice firmer now. "I'm going to stay with my sister for a while. We both need to figure out what we want. What's next for us?" Chris nodded, his heart heavy. "I understand." As Lauren turned to leave, Chris watched her go, feeling a sense of loss that went beyond words. This wasn't just about the end of a marriage, it was the end of a chapter in his life, one that he wasn't ready to close. But as the door clicked shut behind her, he knew that things would never be the same again. In the quiet that followed, Chris stood alone, the weight of his choices pressing down on him. The man who had once guided others through the highs and lows of love was now left to navigate his own heartbreak. And for the first time, he wasn't sure if he had the answers.